Hello, dear students. Today's lecture is devoted to one of the most productive types of word formation in English, which is affixation. So this is one of the basic topics in English lexicology. And the issues which are related to this topic are given here on this slide. The lecture outline will include the topics which we discuss related to the terminology in affixation, first of all, then about the productivity and frequency. I will tell you about some criteria, although criteria generally is unlimited in most cases, but still there are some rigid criteria for the types of affixes and the ways of their usage. Etymological characteristics of affixes are also very important. We'll cover a little bit of them. The semantic features of affixes are very important, both semantically and functionally, and you have to have some insight into this topic. And we'll talk about how affixes are developed in general and specific types of affixes, including semi-affixes. So, but before getting down to affixation as a specific type of word formation, I would like to review the basic types of word formation, which are really productive and very active in modern English. First of all, they include, of course, affixation. We'll deal today. Then composition or compounding. There are two types of terms. Conversion, which is really a very unique type of word formation in modern English, and it's a must for learning, you know. And shortening, such as abbreviation and clipping, became very active, not from the very beginning of the English language, but later from the 16th, 17th centuries. But they are now also very productive. More than that, affixation and clipping have been, abbreviation and clipping have been even borrowed to other languages, including the Uzbek language, where it has never been used before. But beginning with the end of the 20th and, of course, 21st century. Okay, so these are the most productive types of word formation. The place of affixation within these means of word formation is very important because it is one of the probably easiest way of making neologisms, of making new words. And this process includes forming words by adding derivational morphemes, which in one word are called affixes, to the stem of the existing words, of other words which we use for making affixal words. Affixation is highly productive, not just productive, but really highly productive type of word formation in making all parts of speech. You can come across affixation in noun production, like in sharp plus ness, it is sharpness, or reader, or government, you know. So nouns, verbs, critic gives the verb, can be used to make a verb criticize. Sharp facilitates production of the verb sharpen, etc. Adjectives, day, daily, ape, apish, whatever. Adverbs, you know. Prepositions. As you see in this slide, I showed you the root morphemes, the roots first, and what types of affixes can be added in order to produce different types of, different parts of speech, of course. Okay, so now let's look what is an affix in general as a term. The Oxford English Dictionary gives the following definition of affix, which is either a letter or a group of letters making a morpheme. And the examples are un, prefix an, or suffix y, which are added either to the beginning or to the end of the word, so to say. But we should keep in mind that at the end of the word can contain several affixes. You know, it depends on the structure of the word. Okay, so, and of course, at the end of this process, new words are formed belonging very often to a different part of speech. Classification criteria are very, very numerous, of course, and you can choose the criterion yourself. You know, it depends what aspect of affixation a student or a learner can be interested in. But there are some basic positions for classification, basic principles for classification, and the first of them is the position of the affix within the structure of the word. And according to these criterion, we distinguish prefixes, suffixes, infixes, circumfixes, and some scholars even suggest other types, other terms for different versions of combination of affixes within the long structured words. Okay, so and of course, one of the most important criteria is criteria of productivity. How productive are they in modern English? How often we use these affixes. Frequency is another criterion, which shows us the analysis of which affixes are particularly interesting, particularly active in certain types of texts, in medical texts, in business texts, in other types of academic texts, you know. So different types of sciences, different types of scientific texts, journalistic texts, they prefer using in producing new words using certain affixes. Okay, origin is another criterion which is important for distinguishing between affixes. We will have a separate slides devoted to the origin. Origin shows us the etymological status of affixes, whether the affix was really Germanic, it belongs to the Old English vocabulary, it existed and it exists in other Germanic languages, or it is borrowed from such languages as French, Latin, Greek, and others. Okay, so by origin, affixes are classified into native or borrowed. Okay, and part of speech, therefore, this is another criterion. Semantic features of affixes, each derivational model, which includes the part of speech and designation and an affix, they can give different types of words semantically, and we'll talk about it separate as well. So, for example, the type of derivational base is given here. One example, the suffix ish, adjective making suffix ish, we pronounce it as ish. Normally, affixes are pronounced as acronyms. Okay, so if the stem of the word is expressed by a noun, the meaning is looking like something or somebody expressed by this noun. If the stem of the word to which we add ish is adjective, then the meaning of the word will be completely different. It might preserve some elements of likeness, but at the same time, the negative evaluation is added in the meaning of adjectives which are made from adjectives. Okay, so, and as I said, other criteria are welcome to use. It is the researcher's objective, depending on the researcher's objective. Okay, now, when we look at the affixes within the structure of the word, we can see that by their position within the structure of the word, the affixes are classified into prefixes, and the example is the prefix "un" in the word unreal. Then suffixes, the example is the suffix ish in the word selfish. Infixes, they are really semantically not so important, so to say. Their main function is to bring two roots together to compose compound words. Okay, so, but still, even thanks to this, their role, it is purely functional, you know, we still give them a specific term which is called which is infix. Okay, circumfixes is a comparatively new term in affixation, and the scholars suggested this term in order to define those combinations, those models or patterns when we add simultaneously both the prefix and the suffix. So this pattern, unexplainable, unreadable, unpayable, so there are bunches of words which are built by this pattern, and this combination of un and able, they are more or less look like a circle, and that's why they are called circumfixes. Okay, so these are four basic types of structural types of affixes. Okay, when it comes to the structural identification, that is how, when you analyze the word morphologically, sometimes learners who are not very well acquainted with the etymological features of English word structures, they can confuse roots, derived roots, simple words, or derived words, or compound words, among themselves. But in such cases, we certainly need a diachronic analysis. We have to refer to the etymological facts about the words. And that is why, there is a criterion of identification of affixes. And as you see from this slide, from the examples, affixes from this point of view can be classified into living. That is, we can identify them within the structure of the word. They are obvious to us, right? And dead, because in modern English, these affixes are already dead. So we don't use them to produce neologisms, and they are somehow also they're within this the root of the word. So the noun did in Old English had the form of done, and done means do, modern do, to do, the verb to do. In Old English had the form of done, and with a long sound, dawn. And its noun was did. That means that diachronically, this ed at the end of did is a dead suffix, because we don't use it anymore for making new words. The same we can say about le, or just l, in the word sail, in the noun sail, k in the noun walk, GHT in the noun fight, So from the modern point of view, these words look like root words. So we cannot distinguish the suffixes in them. But when we do etymological analysis or diachronic analysis, we can find out that these words include certain suffixes which are already outdated, obsolete, archaic, or simply dead. Okay, now, of course, when it comes to productivity, we can talk only about living affixes, those which we can distinguish in the structure of the word. And living affixes are also classified in their turn into highly productive, productive, and non-productive. So I gave you here the examples of such affixes. And I think that it's obvious that the suffix ous, which is an adjective-making suffix, not really productive, but we cannot do without it because it is included in very many words like curious or genius, etc., etc., indigenous, So it is there, and we have to learn these words. And but making new words is really almost impossible. Okay. And the suffix dom in kingdom, but it is also used in gangdom, in studentdom, you can say, but But this will be a funny word because it is also not really the last neologisms which was used with the dom. Dom was gangdom. Okay, so the same I can say about this th suffix, die, death, for example, right? Non-productive. Some, gruesome, for example. So there are quite a few words with these suffixes, but they are passive in making neologisms. That's why we call them non-productive. Okay, now the valency, part of speech valency. You, of course, remember the word valency from chemistry. It's a chemical term, actually. But when we talk about words, or especially about affixes, valency here means the ability of an affix to enter into combinations with other vocabulary units, with roots or stems, to produce new words. So by this ability, by their valency, by their ability to produce different types of parts of speech, we already mentioned this, affixes can be classified into noun forming, verb forming. Noun forming like meant excitement, ist pianist, ism terrorism, schen revolution, misinterpret, etc. So, I mean, they are very, very active, and you can give dozens of examples with these affixes. They are living, they are productive, and everybody understands, every learner from the A2 level already knows the meaning, or should know at least the meaning of these affixes. Okay, verb forming, adjective forming, adverb forming, and numeral forming affixes. These are their part of speech valency. Okay, now when it comes to semantic features of affixes, again, we should remember that affixes are morphemes. Morphemes as vocabulary units always have stable sound form and stable meaning. The meaning of affixes is somewhere in the middle between the meanings of lexemes, of independent, sovereign words, with lexical meaning. And as you know, lexical meaning represents the extra-linguistic meaning, very objective piece of real world. Grammatical affixes, rather inflections. Grammatical affixes are called inflections, inflectional affixes. They are used in order to adapt the form of the word used in the sentence to its neighbors. If the verb stands in plural, then the subject should be also in plural, right? If the noun is in plural, then the adjective or the attribute which describes it should be also in plural. So, and these form-making morphemes, they are called grammatical or inflectional, depends on the scholars, right? And in one word in English, they are called inflections, while word-making morphemes, affixal morphemes, right? They are called affixes and are classified to prefixes, suffixes, etc. So that means that affixes have meaning, and this meaning is extra-linguistic. For example, the affixes which I showed you in the first example, they carry negative evaluation. If you add these prefixes and suffixes, ish, for example, to the root words, be sure that there will be either opposing meaning or negative evaluation. So these affixes are used to produce very often stylistic meanings, emotional meanings, right? So negative meaning, so possible and impossible. Opposition, right? Lead and mislead, that is to lead in the wrong way. And wrong means negative evaluation, right? Okay. Positive evaluation, So they are expressed by neutral suffixes. Some suffixes and prefixes are absolutely neutral from emotional point of view, but still they possess their own individual meaning. Okay, so like, suffix like, well, teacher like, or student like, or whatever like, right? So, of course, the meaning is neutral, absolutely. Like means similar. This meaning is rendered by like. Or if the stem is, if the root word is expressed by some word with a positive meaning, for example, ladylike. She speaks ladylike. It's beautiful. It's nice. Here you have positive evaluation, right? Okay. Now, abstract notions are also have their own list of affixes, such as ness in sharpness or darkness, shen in revolution, expression, discussion, right? Ment, government. So, or disarmament, for example. So, abstract enough notion, right? Agent affixes describe the doer of the action. So, teacher, pianist, drunkard, editor, musician. So, all of them are affixes which express the meaning of agent or doer of the action. Okay? So, time limits. Yeah, there's a number of prefixes. Most of them are, and the affixes also afterwards. Also, time limits shows time limits, but I gave here only prefixes, and all of them look quite borrowed, you know. So pre is before, post is after, but there is an English prefix after also. Enter also is Latin, also means before. Okay, stylistic affixes are those which express stylistic meanings, which can be pragmatic, emotional, expressive. Uh, yes, and this when you say mega. A mega car is, of course, a car which is really big and maybe fashionable, expensive, and really making a great impression on people who see them. Okay, and there's a number of gender affixes. So if poet is female, is masculine in gender, but poetess is feminine. So the gender affix is there. Hero is masculine, and heroine is already feminine. And INE is INE, and EN in comedian is also feminine. So these suffixes were borrowed from the French language because French language is very democratic and it minds gender meanings. Okay, now here we come to etymological features of affixes, and I show you some affixes by origin. The native, which affixes who remain from Old English period of the 4th, 5th centuries, Anno Domini, so they are called the native, and they have been preserved here. Li, full, ish, nis, ship, etc. And borrowed affixes, here are the examples of borrowed affixes from French, mention and age in shortage, for example. From Russian, one suffix is borrowed. It was the word which left this suffix to English was Sputnik. If you remember, in the 50s, the first Sputnik was launched by the Soviet Union, and the word was immediately borrowed into English. And more than that, the word was liked so much that the suffix "nik" has been preserved And you can find quite a number of words in English now, like jazznik, a person who is very much interested in jazz music, or sitniks, people who participate in sitting demonstrations, protest demonstrations, just sitting in the streets or sitting on the road, and quite a number of others. Okay, so and other examples given here, they are borrowed either from Greek or from Latin, or it was a Greek word. First, the Latin language borrowed it from Greek, and then Italian, French languages, as the followers of the Latin language, borrowed them, and finally it came to English. Okay. So this is what we can say about the etymological features. And here I give you some examples of borrowed prefixes. Are they only prefixes? Yes, look like they are all prefixes. And their meanings. If you come across a word which has prefixes anti or ant or anth, the words express commonly the opposite meaning, or combating something or defending something. Aqui and aqua, of course, this is water, the meaning of water, or whatever related to people, animals living in water, or some actions, activities related to water, either water production or water distribution, etc. Arc and archy, this is the pronunciation of these prefixes, so means something on the top or somebody on the top, chief, principal, supreme, extreme. Okay, and the same, but arche and archeo is already a different meaning, means old or ancient. Okay, artery, aster, astronomy. So astra means star. So as you see, in general, it was to be a root. I mean, in the language, in Latin, it was a root word, more or less. But after borrowing, it was assimilated into the English language in the form, in the function of an affix, not as a root. Okay, audio, both ways. You can have audiography or whatever, but audio is a separate word, but it can also be used as an affix too, as a prefix, of course, mostly. Good. Auto in automatic, zen or xeno in xenophobia. Xeno means foreign, not belonging to this country. Okay. Now, when it comes to the semantics of native affixes, again, affixes, like many words, can be polysemantic too, as I showed you the example with ish. Okay, so here, less, the suffix less in the words like cloudless, penniless, homeless, bloodless, for example, renders the meaning of without, deprived of something, or unable to do something. So, and sometimes having very little. For example, the last example I gave, bloodless lips, for example, they can't be completely without blood, right? If they are without blood completely, then the person is not living. Person is dead, whatever. So, but in this case, I mean, I don't like your bloodless lips. You look like you are sick. In this discourse, bloodless means not enough red, right? Not enough blood in your lips. So again, this less, not completely not having. So depending on the discourse, it can have the meaning of having a little, not enough. Okay? So lit, the suffix, a roomlet, for example. You can say roomlet, a very, very small room. So the meaning is small, unimportant. Okay. Like we discussed already, ling, gooseling, for example. Let me say small goose, the baby, the baby goose, so to say. So this is the meaning of somebody minor, offspring, little, or having a little quality of some word which is expressed by the root. Okay, en is a very traditional Old English Germanic suffix which forms verbs. Sharp, sharpen, gold, golden. There it makes already adjectives, but I didn't give it here. So li, well, it's an adjective making suffix, so its meaning always is having the qualities of sharply, fastly, uh, lazily, etc. Okay. So these suffixes er and or, of course, we all know that these are agent suffixes, and you can add these suffixes to any verb, and this noun at the end of this process will produce the meaning, will make the meaning either of a producer or agent or doer or instrument, like in the word hammer, it's instrument. Okay, so be, yes, so to be had, for example, in the English language, it means to cause lose one's head. Okay, to be aware means to be aware of something. That means, again, to cause awareness. So these words which are used for description of these affixes are called definition tips, right? That is the words which are used by lexicographers in lexicographic resources in order to explain different shades of meaning of these suffixes when they are added to specific, of course, types of the roots, whether they are noun roots or adjective roots or adverb roots. Of course, the meaning differs. Okay, so these are the most traditional English affixes. Okay, but now let's think about how are suffixes made. Of course, traditionally, suffixes may be at some period of the language development. Some of them were normal lexemes, words which were directly connected with the extralinguistic reality and possessed their own independent meaning. For example, the suffix hood in the word childhood. So in modern English, the word hood exists, but hood in the spelling Hood means a head cover, hoodie, right? But in Old English, hood in the form of hard, the spelling was different as well, meant just the period, distance, or the time you spent. That is why childhood is the period when somebody is a child. But at the same time, we can make new words with hood. That is why, we try to teach and learn word formation rules. You can make up the word womanhood or studenthood. Again, it's the period, the time when you were in certain state of living, certain status, physical status. Okay, but at the same time, when we do some morphological analysis of some words, we can have some fun because I personally had a fun when I saw the words in English, neologisms, cran grape and cran apple. Because here, these words look like compound words, not like affixal words. But they could be affixal if you can prove to me that one of the parts, either cran or apple, are morphemes. And they cannot be used separately. But when we study this word, it turns out that this part cran in cran grape and cran apple was taken from the word cranberry. And cranberry is a small red berry a little bit sour, but it is very, very useful, very medicinal berry. So the producers now take only one part, cran, because cran grape and cran apple are not berries, they are juices. Okay, so, and to show that this type of juices, cran apple and cran grape, are mixed type of juices, the mixed cranberry and apples, cranberry and grapes, and cranberry and oranges, cran orange, So these are very catchy words which help to attract the eyes of the buyers, of the clients, of the customers. Normally we are attracted by unusual names of the goods, right? And a very clever marketing step was made. Uh, this is an artificially made affix, cran. Okay, because crane does not exist in English separately. There is a word crane, but cranes are birds. They have nothing to do with berries, right? Okay, so it is not a standalone morpheme like ness or ment or ship or anything, but it is a newly made prefix. So you see, there are very sophisticated ways how affixes can be made, either from normal independent words or artificial words. And this is an artificially made prefix, cran. Okay, besides, affixation, normally affixes are those parts of the words which produce many words, and they are used very often in bunches of words, and slowly and gradually they acquire the functional features of affixes. Right. So this happened, for example, with the word man. We know man basically in two meanings. A man is a male human being, and man as a person, right? But because there were so many words made in English attaching this lexeme, this normal independent word man, to other nouns, that gradually men acquired the status of an affix, or rather semi-affix. So the scholars of lexicology suggested several words which are now developing mostly towards becoming an affix. But at the same time, they can be used independently as a separate independent words. There's nothing wrong about it. So and these are the most frequently used examples which I suggest you for learning by heart, of course. Worthy, which is made from adjective worth, and worthy is slowly and gradually turning into an affix. Trustworthy is somebody who you can trust, you can rely on a person, and he is a trustworthy person. Praiseworthy person is somebody who you can freely praise because he's really good or educated or very highly intelligent or something of the kind. Phobia is a word, it exists as a word, as an independent word in English as well. But because there are, especially lately in the English language of the end of the 20th and beginning of the 21st century, there is the interest towards psychology has grown very much. People are becoming more nervous about what is going on in the world, and this phobia means you fear against something. Persons feeling phobia are people afraid of something. So Russophobia means this feeling of hatred or dislike towards Russian people, or it can be whatever, Uzbekophobia or Jewphobia. I mean, you can make, just on the spot, you can make a new word using phobia. Xenophobia, this is the fear or dislike or hatred against people of other nations, you know. But whatever, you can say, I mean, make a neologism with this phobia, anything. Cold phobia. Some people hate cold, me included, you know. So I prefer sunny, warm weather, and when it's cold, sometimes I don't even like to leave my place, you know. Okay, so this is a very productive, very active suffix which can be used freely in any discourse. The same about proof, shock proof, foolproof. The word foolproof is very interesting. A foolproof question is a question which every fool can answer. You see, so proof means ready, with no harm. So shock proof, you can drop your watch and nothing will happen with it. So you can say, oh, my watch is shock proof. Or waterproof. Material can be waterproof. That is, when water doesn't go through this material or fabric. Okay, so the same with ill. Well, you know very well that the word ill means sick, more or less, right? But when it becomes a prefix, and in my examples, ill-mannered, ill-bred, ill-spirited, it doesn't mean sick. It means badly, not enough. Ill-mannered means having bad manners, impolite, not knowing how to behave, right? Ill-bred means not getting enough education or upbringing in the family, you know, again, rude, impolite, uncultured, that is ill-bred. Okay, the same thing with well. Well also is used in many, many words as in the function of a prefix. For example, well-educated doesn't really mean well-educated, not just received good education, but means very thoroughly educated, you know. So very, very thoroughly, that is, deeply educated. Anyway, so these elements vary their meanings, of course, in each particular case. Okay, and I think that this is all what I wanted to tell you about affixation and some characteristics of affixes. And I hope you now really agree with me that affixation is the most common, the most commonly used and easily used, more or less. But of course, for this, you have to know the meanings of each affix. And productive way of making new words in English. And of course, as well as in many other languages, including Russian, Uzbek, German. Yeah, I mean, affixation is typologically universal type way of making words. Okay, so these affixes, they are derivational morphemes. Don't confuse them with inflectional morphemes, which express grammatical meaning, and of course root morphemes, which carry independent lexical meaning. Okay, so affixal derivational morphemes or affixes carry generalized meaning, but still they reflect the world picture. They reflect the extra-linguistic reality. Okay, and here is very simple example to you, just to finalize my lecture with the word true, the adjective true, which you can change, make verbs, make adjectives with it, make another noun with it, you know, as an example to show you how productive affixes are. That's it. Thank you for your attention.